All right, so this handout is just the lecture notes from week 9 to 14 combined, all right? It's nothing new. It's just that. So we're going to go through these today together, and if you have any questions or anything that you're unclear about, you're like, I don't really understand that idea or that concept, stop and we can talk about it, okay? So we're just going to go through this together. We have, an hour and 15 minutes left, okay? The final exam will cover lessons 9 to 14, but you might need some of the information you learned in lessons 1 to 7 to be able to answer a question clearly, all right? Because you'll have 4 choices, and you might need the information that you learned in lesson 1 to 7 and be like, those 2 choices are wrong, these are the right choices, all right? But it's pretty basic stuff. I think you'll be fine. All right, so let's start with week 9. So week 9 covers prominence, rhythm, intonation, and rate of speech. All right, I put the contents up here. If you want to go to week 9, you're going to have to flip the page, all right? So, and rate of speech and some tips to being successful, right? That's all there is in week 9. And if you understand all of these ideas except for 5, you're going to be okay. Make sure you understand these concepts, all right? We're going to go over them now. All right, prominence. Who can tell me what is prominence? We got lots of questions on the Q&A board like, what? What is prominence? Tell me an example. Anybody? What's prominence? Yeah, it's a stress of what? Yeah, and what else? How else would you say? A stress of a sentence. What do you mean? Oh yeah, you have a friend here. She can't speak out loud. What is it?
Important information.
Yeah, it's usually the most important information in a sentence. And it's how you stress that information and let the listener know that this is important. Like this is prominence. This is prominence, right? So you just bring out the important words and you draw attention to them, right? With pitch and stress and volume, that's prominence. You make it prominent. If something is prominent, it's easily seen, all right? All right. So you add emphasis, like you said, the stress, right, to important parts of the sentence. That's prominence. You highlight the information. So when you're adding new information, when you're talking, you highlight it with prominence, with pitch and emphasis. All right. And you can use it for contrasting information. Not this, but this. All right? When you're contrasting ideas, you use prominence. Good. And it tells listeners what to listen to. All right? If we just talk like this the whole time, you don't know what is important and what is not important, right? So you need to add prominence to let your listeners know what you're talking about. And this is something you can do when you're practicing your presentation. You can take your script or maybe your outline and you can underline words that you think are really important. And you know you have to hit that word so people can follow along. All right? Good. Prominent words are what? Longer. They're stretched out in length, right? The vowels are longer too, right? You stretch the word to make it important and to add emphasis. When we have a long vowel in a word, it's even longer than normal than it is on its own, right? So you stretch out the word and you make it important. Good. Higher in pitch. So you can stretch a word, you can increase the pitch, and it's louder. Not shouting though, all right? Not shouting, just a slight increase in volume, right? Good. All right, you guys feel like you understand prominence? It's clear? There just may be a question on the final about prominence. Maybe. Yes, probably. All right, prominent words are called content words. Do you remember this? Content words. This is important too because they contain the content. The most important information in a sentence is the content. All right? So you could ask, what is the content of lesson 9? It's, what is it? Rhythm, prominence, intonation. It's important information, right? So prominence provides the content of a sentence, usually. All right? They're usually nouns verbs or adjectives, all right? So that's the nouns, verbs, and adjectives give you the important information, right? The content. All right. And then you have content words and you have function words, all right? And you need to have a pretty good idea of what these words are. This might be on the final as well. So function words, they're like just it and or has or be, with, this, her. They're the words that just sort of help you balance and support your content words to create a full idea, all right? So they're your helper words. Good. So identify the content words, and they're highlighted, right? What's the content words in this sentence? Anyone? What are the content words? Wow, how did you get that? It's bold, yeah. Have to and finish and tomorrow. Even finish is not really bolded here, but yeah, you have to finish tomorrow. And your content words, they might change a little bit what you put prominence on, depending on the meaning. Remember, we talk about this later with intonation, like with rising pitch and descending pitch, or what words are prominent. So the importance information in the sentence is that you have to do this and when tomorrow, right? So those are the important words. That's the content of the sentence. So the most important information. Did you raise your hand? Or were you just waving? Yeah.
Finish isn't a content word.
It is. Finish is an important word, right? But the most important part of this sentence, you can choose your words. Like, what's the most important part of the information you're giving? The most important part is finish here, and I'm sorry, have to and tomorrow.
So have to and tomorrow is a prominence word.
That's exactly. So we're going to add prominence to those words to make them stand out. And we know that the most important information in this sentence is that you have to finish this by tomorrow, all right? So it's a different idea. So if we hit finish, then finish is the main idea. But the most important content in this sentence for this speaker is that you have to do it, and you have to do it by tomorrow. So she's not going to do it, you have to do it, and by tomorrow, all right? Does that make sense? It depends on the context. It will change the words you add prominence to. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I said have to is auxiliary helping word.
It is, but when with meaning, what you're doing is you're pushing like the most important information. Yeah, yeah, all right. Same idea, right? It's just based on what you're trying to communicate. So use, knob, scope, measure it. You might even hit use on a different time if you're trying to tell them like, oh, you need to use that. You can't just, look at it. And it's an online course, actually. See, course is also could be a content word because it's a noun, right? But here, for meaning, they're going to add prominence to the word online and actually. All right? Yeah? Good? Is it clear? Yeah? All right. Do you like coffee? So here, they're going to hit do because what? They're asking if you do or don't like coffee, right? Do you like coffee? Right? Yes, no. Do you like coffee? Stresses if you like it, right? So we're hitting a different content word. It just depends on meaning. And do you like coffee? It's like maybe you hate it, And do you like coffee instead of tea or instead of milk? All right? Good. Does that make sense? So you add prominence to different words in your sentences. The words that you add prominence to are usually going to be content words. All right? All right. Prominence is incredibly important in English pronunciation as it indicates what to listen to and what is being conveyed. So it tells your listener what the important information is and what your meaning is, all right? So spoken English is a little different than written English. When you write, you're really trying to communicate clearly with just the words. But when you speak, you're communicating with so much more. All right, just so you can see, do you like coffee? It can be changed depending on where you add prominence, right? Good. So that's what prominence is. Is everyone really clear on prominence? Yeah? Yeah? Sure? Okay, cool. All right, rhythm. What is rhythm? Anyone? Rhythm. Answer. You answered prominence. Anyone? Who can explain what rhythm is? Wow. So many hands. Put your hands down. No, no. Who wants to explain what rhythm is? Anyone? No? Can you explain it?
No.
Nope, she can't explain it. Who can explain it? Anyone? What? Oh, a pattern of stress. Sure. Yeah, good. Genius. Perfect. Did you look at your notes there? Yeah, good. It's all right here. If you look here, it's in this paper right here. Good. Yeah. And it's affected by linking words together. You know, you link words together. And the volume, the rate, pausing, and contractions in spoken language, right? It adds a certain rhythm to your speech. All right? So, yeah. Da 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 da. Wait, how you do that one? Da 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 da. All right. You know iambic pentameter, like Shakespeare? It's ba-da, 10 feet. Never mind, not important. All right. English is usually stressed, unstressed, stressed, unstressed, stressed. But yeah, so the rhythm is the natural rhythm that you hear when someone is speaking, right? So I'd like to welcome everyone to my presentation. Generic, no rhythm. So I'd like to welcome everyone to my presentation. And here you see that to all of a sudden gets some prominence, which, you know, it's not a really important content word, right? It's usually more of a function word. But here you're setting up the presentation. So I'd like to welcome everyone to my presentation. You know, it sets up the presentation. And it's a cue to, oh, listen, what is he welcoming us to? Oh, the presentation, all right? So even words like to can get stress, all right? Good. Here you can see the results were negative. Here, you know, telling the people to look here, you can see the results were negative, all right? So there's a certain rhythm when people speak, and it definitely depends on who the speaker is, what kind of rhythm will be used, all right? And the prominence you add to your sentences will also slightly change the rhythm, okay? Good. I prefer to, the same example, I prefer to conduct meetings face-to-face, all right? All right, so that's rhythm. Rhythm's pretty easy, right? It's just like music, the rhythm in music, same thing. People have a certain rhythm when they speak. Intonation. Anyone? Anyone want to take a guess about what intonation is? She's trying not to look at me so I don't make her do it. Anyone? Intonation?
Is it different with accent?
I don't know. What do you guys think? Is intonation different than an accent?
Yes.
Yes? How?
Because they're like using accents. Like, for example, if you just like say that you have an American accent, then like it doesn't really have to relate to intonation, because intonation is what you use in a sentence in just like every single language. But like in accent, it's just like the different like tones and like emphasis on words and all that from other countries.
What do you think? Yeah?
Sorry.
No, no, you don't know? You're still well, I think you might be leaning towards the right answer, but you're a little more right. Like if you're talking about, are you talking about an accent, or are you talking about an accent someone has when they speak? Yeah? People have different accents, right? But then you can accent a word too by stressing it. But I think you're right. An accent is just the way someone pronounces a word or the words they choose to express ideas, right? So there's different pronunciation. Good. But intonation, you're right, it's a little bit different than an accent. So it's the rising and falling pitch during speech patterns. And what you said is that all languages have these to indicate whether things are questions, whether you're confident, whether you're insecure about what you're saying, right? So when you ask a question, you know, you have these rising pitches, and when you answer a question, you have falling pitches, or they're straight ahead. That's intonation, right? All right. So intonation can indicate whether the speaker is finished with a thought, right? If you drive straight through, put a period on it, there's a certain type of intonation, right? Whether the speaker is making a statement or a question, which you can see in many different languages. All right? And how certain someone is about what they are saying, okay? Someone asked on the Q&A board about people using intonation in meetings with people who are in higher positions than you. I don't think you always have to use rising inflection or, you know, intonation, but it does show that you are being subservient or you're letting them take the lead, all right? There's someone outside that we need to make fun of. 왜 늦었어요? I'm sorry. They ran away. They're scared. I only have 2 of these left. Can you pass these back? All right. You want to give yours away? She's very generous. All right, let's keep going. So we're on intonation. All right. And it also indicates the speaker's perception of what you know and what you don't know. All right. So you can, it's the rising intonation. It's descending. All right. Yeah. So one good thing, a lack of intonation makes the speaker sound monotoned. Mono's one, right? Just one tone, and not engaged and unfriendly. Because if you keep talking like this, you don't sound very friendly, right? So use intonation to give indication of what you're saying, whether it's a question, whether it's a statement, whether you're really positive and sure about it, or whether you're unsure. All right? Good. If you overuse final rising tones, the speaker sounds unsure of themselves. A lot of things that people have to practice when you're practicing a presentation is to use intonation that goes down or straight ahead. Because if you keep using these rising, I can't do it, rising tones, it makes you seem like you're not confident. It makes you seem unsure, right? So it's something you need to be careful about. Only go up when you really want to, okay? When it really is a question, all right? And you can go up when you're sort of making a statement to see if people understand what you're saying as well, all right? Good. So, yeah, so if you only use level tones too, if you don't go up and you don't go down, they won't know what you're saying. They don't know, is this a statement? Is this a question? All right? So in spoken language, intonation and rhythm and prominence is really, really important, right? Any questions? No? Clear? Yeah. I think if you accent something, it will be more of prominence if you put an accent on something. And then a person's natural accent will change the rhythm of speech too. Okay? Good? Nice. All right. Okay, so if you look, the same sentences can be changed with intonation. You want me to repeat that? With falling intonation indicates a statement like this. You want me to repeat that? That's a statement. You want me to repeat that? All right? But if you, with rising intonation, you want me to repeat that? It's a question. That's simple, right? All right. And you can have other ones too. We don't need a guess. Do we need a guess? No, it's a waste of our time. We have it. But yeah, so they gave exercises. Here, we'll ask, will the intonation go up or down on this? Up? Why?
Because he wanted to ask a question.
Right, that's that simple. Yeah, it's a question, so it goes up, all right? And this is a question, it goes up. This is a statement, so it will go what, probably? Down, yeah. Yeah, and if it goes up, it means you're unsure about what you're saying. All right, good. But you can change questions like, you want me to repeat that, into statements if you send your intonation down, all right? Good. Okay. Recognize statement questions by WH words. Who, what, when, where, why, and how. Not quite. Okay, following intonation with tag questions implies you know the person's response. So if you have a falling intonation with a little like right, it means that you know what the other person is going to say or what they think, right? Rising intonation displays common knowledge, right? So you're going up and you're like, oh, checking, like, you guys understand that, right? You understand that, right? Right now, when I go up, I'm making sure that you understand. Good. Flat indication indicates that the routine is well established. So if it's something that everyone knows and it's established already, it's information we all know, like first we're gonna look at this PowerPoint and then I'm gonna open it up to questions. If we do it the same way every time, it'll just go straight, right? Good. Rate of speech Anyone, what's the rate of speech? Toto, do you know? Nuchimasayo. Toto, what's the rate of speech? Do you have any idea?
Speed of
Yeah, a rate, a speed. Okay, good job. All right, good. Let's look at it. It affects intelligibility and ability to convey meaning. All right? So if you go too quickly, meaning can be lost. If you go too slowly, meaning can be lost. All right? Talking fast does not make you more fluent. All right? A lot of people who speak very quickly think that if they speak very quickly, they speak the language really well, but it doesn't make you more fluent. I have the same problem. When I speak Korean, I speak very quickly, but I'm not that fluent. So it just makes it harder for people to understand me. So I'm always like, oh, all right, slow down. Because I talk very quickly. But if you do that in a second language, especially if your pronunciation isn't really good, you lose lots of meaning, okay? All right, rate of speech. You must speak to accommodate your audience. Yeah, so you slow down depending on who you're speaking to, or you speed up depending on who you're speaking to, all right? Your rate of speech will increase, you'll probably go faster with information that people already know, right? And your rate of speech will slow down with new information. Good, it's the speed. All right. Okay, yeah, talking fast can deter from the success of your presentation, or it can take away from how successful you are. One of the, a common error when people are giving presentations is speaking too quickly. And I do it all the time. So if I am speaking too quickly, just raise your hand and I will slow down, okay? But we have lots to cover. Good. Yeah, people tend to talk fast when they are nervous. So it will also make you seem more nervous when you're going too quickly. So it's better to be slowed down and have confidence that you can take your time and people want to listen to what you have to say, all right? So the more prepared you are, probably the slower you will talk, right? Good. If there is a time limit, rehearse beforehand and plan accordingly. So this is one of the things that is in lesson 1 to 7 too. Remember when they're talking about in lesson 1 to 7, this is the type of information you'll need from the beginning. Toto, what? You're just saying yes, but you didn't really mean it? No, okay, so in 1 to 7, like they're saying that if you time your presentation and you're like 5 minutes over, you have to cut it and make it shorter, right? You should try and end at least 5 minutes early, right? Because you might run into some technical problems, or you might get stuck on explaining an idea and it might take longer. Because you don't want to have to increase your rate of speech to end your presentation on time, right? Good. And complex topics might require you to slow down. Like if it looks like your audience doesn't understand you, you might have to slow down, and then it's going to change the time at which you timed your presentation, right? So your rate of speech will change. And audience reactions can affect your speech rate. Like if you have 2 students or 2 people who are talking the whole time and you have to stop for them and get their attention, then it can change the presentation. All right, good? Everyone understand rate of speech? Pretty clear, right? Yeah? Yeah? Okay. All right. Tips to being successful. This is such an awesome title. I want to read these every morning. All right. Tips to being successful. Oh, record yourself giving a presentation. That's a tip, right? It really does help. It's also very painful, actually, to watch it. Like you might want to cry and get some ice cream because it's going to be awful. You're going to hate your voice. You're going to hate, or beer, I don't know, hate your face, but it's good because you can change some of the things you hate about your pronunciation, about your intonation, right? What word you're adding prominence to. You're like, why did I add prominence to that word? It makes it confusing what I'm saying. You can practice it, right? Good. Fillers and unnecessary pauses. What are fillers? Fillers in a sentence. Yeah, these vocal fillers that don't add meaning. It's because you don't know what you want to say next, right? So you can be like, oh, why do I keep saying or even like words like, that's a filler too. All right, well, these are all fillers. So if you use too many of them, it can make your presentation maybe seem too casual, or it can make it seem like you're not really confident about the information you're giving, right? Good. Remove fillers from your vocabulary if you can, all right? Think before you speak. So maybe you record it and you're like, I'm saying too much. Then you could just take sections of your presentation where you know you're gonna stop and think like, okay, so I'm gonna say this first, right? Think before you speak. Something my mother used to say to me all the time. All right. After analyzing and practicing, you can re-record. This is a good idea. So if you torture yourself and you actually record your presentation, you should record it one more time after you take notes, because it's going to improve and you'll feel better about yourself. Because if you just watch the first one, you're gonna feel pretty bad, because everyone hates themselves unless you're some like narcissistic crazy person, and then you have other problems to worry about. All right, week 10, are you ready? Week 9, we did that in like 15 minutes, all right. Q&A. So this class spends a lot of time on the Q&A section of a presentation. And they do it for a reason, because a Q&A section can kill a presentation. If you have the best, amazing presentation and a really crappy Q&A session, it can make you seem unprofessional and make you seem like you don't know what you're talking about. And that's the last thing people have. And it's the time they interact the most with you and get to know you as a speaker, so it can make or break your presentation, all right? So that's why they spend lots of time. And it really is a skill being able to lead a Q&A session gracefully, all right? Because you have to deal with like crazy people in the audience, or somebody who hates your presentation or doesn't want to take the company in the same direction as you, all right? Good. Okay, to prepare a Q&A session, responding to questions, 7 challenging situations, and tips. Lots of tips here. All right, so that's what's in week 10. That's it, all right? So you see, I've added this at the end, I put it at the beginning of each little chapter. When you're studying, if you can look at this and be like, oh, I know what's here, I know what's here, I know what's here, you're gonna be fine, all right? You'll be okay. If you can understand that. Same thing with lesson 9. If you look at prominence, rate of speech, intonation, and you feel confident that you know what that is, you'll be fine, okay? Good. Q&A, boom, is the most, I just said that, it's the most interactive part of the presentation. It's the time your audience gets to talk to you, right? Although there is no Q&A today. So if you want to talk now, raise your hand. Let me know you don't understand. Good. You might include a survey or even present a question to the audience themselves. So sometimes at the end of your presentation, you'll have a survey for the audience to take part in, right? Or you'll pose a question to the audience to get the Q&A started. Good? All right. It's like a discussion with your audience. Yeah, so Q&A is just talking to your audience. That's it. That's simple. Yeah, and how you handle the Q&A, like I said before, it leaves an impression. Because everyone knows that your presentation, you've rehearsed it, but a Q&A is you, the speaker, interacting with people, like face to face. So that's when they take the biggest impression of who you are, how professional you are, and how well you understand what you're saying. That's when they make that impression. All right, someone asked me about this, go back. You think on your feet. Someone asked me on the Q&A, what does that expression mean? Think on your feet. Anyone know?
Like you are able to, so like think on your feet. So like without practice, you just know the content that you are able to like express it right on the spot, even if you're flustered.
Exactly. Good. That without practice is really good. So if you're thinking on your feet, you're taking care of a problem or answering a question without preparation. So your presentation, you're prepared and you rehearsed. But a Q&A, you just have to think right there on your feet where you're standing, like thinking while you're standing up, right, and interacting. So that's why I think on your feet. Because if you sit down and prepare, that's not thinking on your feet. Thinking on your feet is dealing with things and how well you know your information, how well you can respond to people's questions and interact with other people. So think on your feet. It's good if you have the ability to think on your feet. Good. You need to remain calm despite pressure and nerves. So yeah, it's often like during the presentation, because you practice it, you can be a little more confident, but the Q&A, when people ask you questions, you really need to be able to think on your feet. And in the lesson, they go over some ways that can help you do that, help you remain calm and less nervous, right? So yeah, make or break your presentation and your credibility. What is credibility? There's so much new vocabulary in this lesson. Credibility, yep.
So it's like kind of like you can say that it's like your reputation.
Yeah, it's part of your reputation, yeah. And what type of reputation?
So like how much you know your knowledge, and how professional you could be.
Yeah.
Yeah, just basically like your image that you show to the audience.
Yeah, whether or not you're professionally respected. English is so hard. Also, if you hear like news, they'll say we have it from a credible source. We found out that this has happened. It means someone that you can trust and rely on, right? So if you're trustworthy and you're very professional and people rely on you, you're going to be very credible, all right? Good. Okay, if you take too long to answer a question, it makes you seem uncertain, right? You need to be able to think on your feet and answer quickly. Boom, all right? You need to be confident and smooth. So if you hear a question and you're very confident with your answer, it shows that you know your information, all right? Good. To prepare for a Q&A session, think of every possible question that could be asked. This is really one of the best things to do for preparing for a Q&A session. This is like the type of thing they might ask a question for on the final. What's one of the most important things to do when preparing for a Q&A session? That could be a question on the final, maybe. All right, so you think of every possible question that could be asked, right? Just anything. Okay, what might they ask me about? And you just make a list, and then you write the answers, and you practice your answers, right? It really helps. Okay, practice responding to those questions. Respond in different ways. So when you practice responding to those questions, don't practice the same answer each time, because then you're just stuck into A, B, A, B. But if you practice different responses, it can help you when you get a slightly different question, and then you can pick the best response, right? Know the content. Yeah, the bottom line is you have to know what you're talking about, right? So because you're second language learners, you're going to be giving the presentation in English. It's good to practice the answer so you can practice your language, but you need to know your content, right? Good. Practice with an audience, and maybe the audience is are your children or your friends or your boyfriend or your girlfriend, somebody. Practice with an audience, it helps. And have them ask you rude or hostile questions. It's good. Honestly, it's really good to have people ask you questions like, does that really work that way? Just really rude questions. Because even when people don't mean to be, people are often rude, right? It happens. And you have to be really calm and professional. All right. Stay calm and confident. Good. Responding to questions. First, make sure you heard the question and understand it. It's really important, and it's okay to take the time to ask them, can you repeat that question, all right? Or ask them, I'm sorry, could you clarify your question? Or could you say that in another way? It's totally okay, because you really want to answer their question, all right? You do have that objective. You can politely ask them to repeat it, say it louder, explain themselves. Yeah, it's fine. Good. Answer in a simple and concise manner. What is concise? Anyone? Concise. What does concise mean? Concise. Concise. I see some smiles, but no hands. All right. Concise means what? Focus. Okay, yeah. So you have a focused answer. Concise is when you can say something in the shortest amount of time as possible. You say it clearly and very short, all right? But if you speak on and on and on, it's not concise, all right? It's one of the things I hate when having a conversation with someone who's not very concise. All right, good. So you say something short and very clear. It's concise. Yeah, only provide the information needed, to answer the question, right? So you don't talk about other stuff. It's just very clear and concise. Avoid speech fillers, which we practiced before, the you know, all right? And practice that when you practice answering Q&A questions. All right, practice, 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 practice. All right, good? You feel well that you can prepare for a Q&A session, no problem? Yeah? No? She has no confidence. It's because you need to practice, all right? Good. If you need time to think, if someone asks you a question, you're like, oh, damn it, I don't know what the answer is. You can say, that's a good question. I need a couple seconds to think. So you go, oh, that's a really good question. Because if you say that's a good question, it naturally makes people feel good. Like, yeah, that's a good question, right? And it does, it gives you some time. Or if you want to put your thoughts together. If they ask a question that's a little complicated, you go, oh, that's a good question. Give me a few seconds to think, all right? You hear this all the time, all right? If you don't communicate with your audience, they may think you're confused. Yeah, someone asks you a question and you just sit there like this. You need to say, oh, that's a good question. Give me a moment to think, and then take your time, all right? It's good to keep talking to your audience. Good. All right, 7 challenging questions. Dominating questioner. What does dominating mean?
Taking the wheel.
Yeah, taking the wheel, is that what you said? Yeah, that's a nice expression. Yeah, it's someone who takes control or tries to take control of the Q&A session. I'm sure you all are familiar with people like that. You meet them at parties or in conversations. They try to take control. But you, because you're the one leading the presentation, you're in charge of making sure people don't dominate the Q&A. Make sure that everyone has a chance to ask, right? So that also shows how professional you are. All right. People who ask mini or mini-part questions. Yeah, so usually Q&A, if you were in the audience, it's good to ask concise and clear questions. Just one question, right? But some people ask like a question that goes on and on and on. It has many parts to it, or there'll be 3 or 4 questions. And you can hate them, but smile and say like, I'm gonna talk about your first question. Yeah, good. Respond to the first question and try to involve other people. It's good if someone's trying to control the Q&A, you can ask other people what they think. All right, oh, what do you think about his question or her question? All right. All right, if time is running out, because you don't want to go over time, the worst thing is, like they talked about in lesson 1 to 7, even if you go over 2 minutes, people are like, that's my 2 minutes. This guy doesn't care about us, all right? Always end early. We'll see if that happens today. We have 40 minutes left. All right, good. Stop looking at your watch. All right. Thank everyone for your questions. It's really important to thank everyone. Thank people for their time, right? People came, they listened to what you had to say. It's important. You can't just end your presentation or the Q&A section without thanking your audience. Someone asked about one of the questions on the review, whether it's true or false. It said, that's all we have time for. Here's my information. They're like, is that a proper way to end a presentation? It was false because they didn't thank their audience, all right? So you have to thank your audience. Good. Am I speaking too quickly? Is my rate of speech too quick? No? Good. All right. Yeah, so thank you everyone for your question. Today I hope X, Y, and Z. And you can use X, Y, and Z to be your 3 main points. I hope you understood that conserving water in the bathroom is really important because we're faced with all kinds of problems, da 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 da. All right, you can do X, Y, and Z. Or you can just do X and Y, all right? Or just X, one idea. But it's a nice time to thank them and then put forth your main ideas of your presentation. Good. Display your contact information so people can follow up with you. And it's good, you can just put your contact information on the last slide of your PPT, or you can put it on the last page of your handout. If you look here, my contact information isn't here. It's because I don't want you to contact me, all right? No, you have it online. It's at the first page of the presentations class, all right? Good. All right. Why is this going? Oh, wait, I have a pointer. There. Boom. Nope. It stopped. Oh, there we go. All right. Going the wrong way. There we go. Okay, yeah, this will happen a lot too. If someone asks a question about something that you already talked about. So there are a lot of bad audience members who aren't really listening to other people's questions and they're thinking about their question. But if it's already been asked, there are ways of dealing with it. It's always good to be polite, even when you're dealing with someone who is rude or is asking something that someone else already asked. So you can answer the question. If somebody asks a question that somebody else already asked and you said, oh, she already asked that question, and then you move on, it makes you look like a bad person. Just answer it very concisely and quickly. Don't spend much time on it, all right? All right. Everyone makes mistakes. Asking irrelevant questions. What's an irrelevant question? What does irrelevant mean? That's a big word. Yeah, it's not important to the context or the information that you're talking about. Like if we're doing a review here for this lesson and someone asks me like a question about something else that's outside of English, right? Like, what's the best restaurant to eat at around here? What? Why are you talking about restaurants? We're talking about the reviewing for presentations, all right? So that's irrelevant, not important to the conversation at hand. Good. And if someone does ask you that, you can say, for the purpose of this presentation, I would like to focus on this topic. Thank you. You see these little example sentences that pop up on how to deal with different types of questions? These might be something that would be on an A, B, C, D choice for a final exam question, all right? So it might be, oh, what's the best way to deal with someone who asks an irrelevant question? And they'll show examples. So it's good to look at those, all right, when you're studying. Good. Keep a warm, calm, warm, like friendly, I guess warm is a synonym for friendly. A warm, calm tone of voice. Don't say it rushed. This can show frustration. Yeah, if you rush quickly past a person, it means that you're annoyed with the person. So you want to seem like nobody annoys you at all, even if you're faking it, right? Yeah, good. And maybe it's an irrelevant question, but you can tie it back into what you're talking about, all right? So you're like, oh, that question's really not exactly what we're talking about, but you can use it to maybe investigate an idea you talked about earlier or connect that to your presentation. So be nice and try to answer it, all right? Okay, this is really good. Someone incorrectly paraphrases you or incorrectly assumes your position. What is a paraphrase? Paraphrase. Anyone? Yeah?
Changing another words or sentence.
Yeah, so when you paraphrase, you do change words and sentences. So say if you're paraphrasing, it means you're not quoting. If you do a quote, if you quote someone directly, you say the exact same words that a person said, all right? But if you paraphrase, you change the words a little bit and you use a shorter version to convey their idea or the meaning, right? So if someone asks me, is Toto going to lunch today? I can paraphrase and say, no, Toto said she didn't want to go to lunch. But in reality, when I asked her, she said, hell no, I don't want to hang out with you, and walked away, all right? So the quote would be, hell no, I don't want to hang out with you. But the paraphrase is, oh, she doesn't want to go to lunch. Good? All right. Sorry, Toto. That's what you get for being late. All right. Politely interrupt and clarify. Yeah, so if someone assumes your position, what your position? So maybe you're trying to do a persuasive presentation and you have a position. You want people to convince people of the way that you see something, right? So if someone in the question says, well, you think this way, but they're wrong, they make an assumption that you think a certain way, you're going to have to correct them, right? And tell them, oh, that's not how I think. You're making an assumption, all right? To clarify, I didn't say X, I said Y, all right? So to clarify is a nice introductory clause that is good to be polite and also tell someone that they're wrong. Like, I didn't say that, all right? I actually don't support X, I support Y, all right? When you're talking about ideas, good. If you cannot interrupt, clarify when it's your turn to answer. So these to clarify, and I actually, is when the person's talking, you can interrupt them with those phrases, right? So you can stop them from talking and interrupt what they're saying and clarify, all right? Good. Hostile questioner. What's hostile? Cold.
Could be a bit rude.
Rude.
Just really direct.
Yeah, direct. Yeah, depending on context. Mean. Yeah, cold, rude, direct, mean, angry, hostile. All right. Or yeah, if they're asking questions that make you feel attacked, like they're going after you personally, they're hostile, which does happen. Gently block them or head them off. What does block them? Yeah. All right, block them just means like, oh, thank you, and then just move on. Ignore them, you know, nicely. And head them off means to take control of the conversation or the dialogue and take it back off. You're heading them off, all right? And you're changing it in a different direction. Oh, and here's the thing. If someone's being hostile and they actually asked a relevant, what's an antonym of relevant? What?
Irrelevant.
Yeah, we talked about it a minute ago. We have irrelevant questions. It's not important to the topic. And then relevant is important. So maybe they're hostile and they're angry, but they're asking a good question. Go ahead and answer their question. That's what they say. Just answer it, okay. And just ignore the fact that they're not very polite. Good. Otherwise, invite them to contact you. This is great. If someone is being inappropriate or asking lots of irrelevant questions or they're very hostile, be like, oh, thank you. I'd love to talk to you more about this. Please contact me. At the end of the presentation will be my email address or whatever, your phone number. Please use that to contact me so we can talk about this more. And if someone's hostile, usually when they're writing the email, they'll probably calm down, all right? Or they're just lazy and hostile and they won't contact you, which is good. You don't have to talk to them anymore. Good. Practice these responses in front of a mirror to create confidence and composure. So practice, 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 right? It'll help you stay calm, help you seem confident. Good. Pretty easy, right? Straightforward? Yeah? Okay? Clear? All right. Having no question to answer. A lot of people ask things in a Q&A session that aren't really questions, all right? So also, if you open it up and you're like, it's time for Q&A, does anyone have any questions? Nobody has questions, but you have 10 minutes for a Q&A. You can go back to something you said in your presentation and use it to try and start a discussion by asking a question of your own. And this is something you should prepare because oftentimes people are embarrassed or they're thinking about something else and won't have questions, all right? So prepare questions based off of a part in your lecture. You can go back to like, oh, let's look at this graph again, you know, or look at this statistic or this image and go back. If you have too many questions and not enough time, provide a slide with your contact information. So yeah, it's really good to have your contact information at the end because if people have more questions, they're really excited about what you're talking about, you're like, send me your questions, all right? All right. And we are out of time for today, but I would love to talk to you more. Here is my contact information. There are quite a few questions on the final exam that talk about the language, all right? So this type of language, what can you do when you run out of time? So really look over those phrases and quotes, okay? Or don't, if you don't really care about doing well on the final exam. But I think all of you do because you're here today on a Saturday morning. All right. You don't know the answer. Ask the questioner to contact you later so you can fully answer the question. People might ask you a question you don't know. Be honest and be like, I want to talk, don't try to make up the answer. Don't lie. If you really don't know and you try to like just create an answer during a Q&A, it makes you look stupid and it makes you look like you don't know what you're talking about. And people are smarter than you think, right? It's an opportunity to express humor, right? You can lightly laugh and say, oh, that's a great question. Flattery really helps if you tell people that their question's good. But to answer it fully, I need to do some more research. Can you please contact me so we can discuss it later? Yeah, if you don't know, just say you need to do some research on it and you'll answer the question. It's that simple. All right. Don't get defensive or defend your ego, all right? Yeah. You need to stay really warm and open. That's pretty much it. All right. And actually, when I've seen Q&A sessions, when people do say, oh, I'm sorry, I don't know. Let me look into that. Please contact me and I'll talk to you about it. It actually makes me respect them more, right? Because it means like they're honest and they're curious about investigating things. So it's good. All right, tips. Lots of tips here. Okay. Don't be afraid to use humor. Yeah? Humor it's good. It's okay to laugh at yourself. All right? Okay. Exude. What does exude mean? Exude warmth. Exude.
Like let it out or like,
yeah.
Like make it obvious.
Yeah, let it out. Make it obvious. It means that there's lots of it. Warmth is friendliness, right? It's a synonym for friendliness. Like if you have a heater, you know those heaters that are round that you see in the winters? They'll exude heat. They radiate heat out. So just make sure you seem really warm and friendly. You exude happiness and friendliness, right? Good. Do this by paying attention to your tone. The tone that you use while you're speaking will make you seem more warm and less warm, right? Your speech and your body language. Yeah, if you're like closed off and you're standing like this, it makes you seem less warm. But if you're open to your audience and you're making eye contact with them, it makes you seem warmer. Good. Exude. Be a good listener. Yeah, during the Q&A question, if you open up a Q&A session and you don't really listen to people's answers, if you don't listen carefully and respond concisely to what they asked, everyone else is like, oh, they're not really listening. Yeah? Nobody likes someone who's not a good listener, right? You guys are such good listeners. Good. Summarize your main points and remind the audience why your presentation is important. All right? Summarize and remind why it's important. Good. Week 11, woohoo! Only 3 more. Any questions so far? Good? Do you need to stand up? No? You okay? Do you need a bathroom break? No? Good, we have 25 minutes. Let's do 3 lessons in 25 minutes, all right? I think my rate of speech might increase. All right, we ready? Let's go. All right, global communications. Differences in professional world culture. Culture interferes with communication in 3 ways, all right? And overcoming difficulties. Good, so those are the 4 things you hit in week 11. Look at them. If you can't give a definition of each of these things, then you should go back and review that subject, okay? Because the final exam really liked lesson 11, all right? Just between you and I'd really look over lesson 11, all right? If you feel confident about lesson 11, it'll help you out. All right, global communications. What are world Englishes? Who can tell me? Boop. Can't see the answer unless you're looking at the handout. What are world Englishes? Anyone? Why Englishes with an S? Did anybody take my World English class? No? I made a class called World English. You take it? You should take it. It's fun. All right. World Englishes. You guys don't know? What are the World Englishes?
I think that people can use the English or British English all other than communicate with each other.
Yeah, it's true. There are many different types of Englishes. There's the English spoken in India. There's the English spoken in Australia, in America, in the US, in Canada. Everyone thinks of standardized English, which is the academic or written English. They think of that as English, but spoken English is vastly different. There are lots of different Englishes, and they're all okay, all right? And they're all good English, all right? They're just spoken Englishes, and they're all over the world, from Jamaica to the UK. Good. Okay, so do you remember the 3 circles that the English was divided into? Oh, it's right there. Shoot. Inner, outer, and expanding, right? What's inner circle English? Anybody remember? Inner circle. USA! What else? UK. Australia? New Zealand? Canada. Yeah, I think we got them all. That's it. What is outer circle? Philippines, yeah. Where else? India, Nigeria. There are a lot of places, yeah, where it's an official language, right? South Africa, right? India, it's an official language. It's often a second language, and it's a national language. But it's not maybe the native language that everyone grows up speaking, right? And then expanding circles. Can you give me an example of one country that's an expanded? What? Korea, right, Mingguk. All right, Korea is an expanding circle, good. And sometimes people will move from an expanding circle into the outer circle, right? When they make English a national language, all right? Which many countries have done. Good. So you have these 3 circles. Good. Boom, bye, good. So English speakers continue to grow. It's changing all the time. Like it is changing, inner circle, outer circle. Okay, so there's lots of debate about these Englishes that are spoken around the world, and people get very angry and like they're very heated, hostile, the word we were talking about earlier, about what is proper English. But the English spoken in all these different places is proper to that place, and it's a justified and good English. Good. People want to keep English standardized. You know, there's a good point to make right here. What is standard English? I talked about it earlier, like the academic English. What is standard English? Where is standard English spoken? You know Professor Jogi Sok? He always asks me, is this standard English? All of his questions, is this standard English? Where is standard English spoken? Does anyone know? The UK? I'm American. UK? Is standard English spoken in the UK? Good guess. Anyone? I mean, that's the home of English, the UK. Well, it moves. Where is standard English spoken? No ideas? Nowhere. Standard English isn't spoken. There is no such thing as standard English. It's a myth. Standard English is only a written English that is evolving and changing all the time. Grammar changes, punctuation changes. So standard English is the English that certain style guides, and even in academic writing, there are different style guides who don't agree. But think of it as the agreed upon rules for academic writing or professional writing, all right? It's the English you'll see in newspapers and in academic reports. That's the standard English. But that's not spoken English. Nobody talks that way, all right? You won't see it anywhere. That's why you have world Englishes. And these Englishes exist everywhere, all right? There is no standard English. But there are agreed upon grammar rules, right? There are agreed upon rules. All right, good. That's why a lot of people say that native speakers aren't really that important to be teachers, right? And more people think that way. I happen to agree. I actually would prefer, like, if I was learning, that doesn't matter. It's a longer, we don't have time. Anyway, yeah, native speakers aren't that important. Good. Yeah, variation, here's the main idea of world Englishes. Variation shouldn't be considered a corruption, all right? Just because there are many different variations, it's not a corruption. Same thing, if you go to Busan and you have the Busan Satori or the Seoul dialect, one is not better than the other. Some people might prefer one, think one sounds more educated, but it doesn't mean that Korean is wrong, all right? It's a language, it exists, all right? It's not a corruption, good. And it's better for you to find enjoyment in the differences instead of judge people for the differences. Because this just makes you kind of a boring person, all right? Good. So they really push for the views of changing your views of English. Lingua franca. What is a lingua franca? This might be on the test. Lingua franca. Anyone? What's a lingua franca? Right now we're using a lingua franca. Lingua franca. Anyone? No?
Two people, they are not a native speaker, but they speak English, that is using lingua franca.
Exactly. Two people, I can't speak English, is so hard. It's two people who don't have the same native language, all right? If you don't have the same native language, but you're using a language to communicate, it's that language. It could be French. Actually, French for a long time was the global lingua franca, all right? If people wanted to do business, you had to speak French, and then it became English, all right? So English is usually the lingua franca of the business world now, but not necessarily, right? Good. So it says here communication in the outer and expanding circles. You don't even need to think of it that way, all right? Because they're saying if it's your second language and then it's a learned language, it doesn't. It could be a native speaker, which I'm doing, speaking to you who have learned English as a second language. The lingua franca in this classroom is English, right? And some really bad Korean jokes. That's about it, all right? But the lingua franca is English. Good. All right, it's a language between two people who do not share a common native language, all right? One person can have English as a native language, and it's still a lingua franca, all right? This definition is really important. You should know what that definition, all right? Lingua franca, good. What's the goal? Successful communication, good. Okay, so we talked about cultural differences in the professional setting, right? Communicating with people from other cultural backgrounds is a challenge. It's really difficult to communicate with people from other cultural backgrounds. There are different norms, all right? Good. People's beliefs, what they believe in, what they think is important, shape how they see, how they interpret, and how they interact and react to things, all right? So you need to know the cultural setting that you're interacting with, all right? You need to know a little bit about the culture of whoever you're dealing with, all right? Words can mean different things from different cultures and can provide misunderstandings. Even when you're dealing with someone from the UK or the US, there are different words, all right? Same words can mean completely different things to people. I just said that, all right? And some people, like my friend, he came to visit me, and he's like, why are your friends always fighting in Korean? I'm like, they're not fighting, they're just talking about what restaurant to go to. He's like, oh, wow. He's like, I thought they were totally fighting. I'm like, no, 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 no. So you have to know it's different for every culture, right? Yeah, different words have different meaning too. Like there's a stand-up comedian, he talks about going to America from South Africa for the first time. And someone offering, he was at a restaurant, and someone offering him a napkin or a nappy. And in South Africa, a nappy or a napkin is the diaper that you put on the baby. So when and you catch, it's a diaper. And someone's like, do you want a diaper to wipe your face? No, no, no. So the language is different all over, and you should know that. All right, just the difference between subway or tube. UK, tube, but talk about it. What do you call an elevator in the UK?
Lift.
Yeah, that's wrong. Lift is wrong, it's elevator. I'm joking, it's not wrong. Yeah, right, it's elevator, lift, tube, subway. Good. All right. Okay, there are 8 identities people have when interacting, right? Do you guys remember this section? Did you watch this? No, you were sleeping during this part of the section. Okay, so there are 4 identities that don't change, all right? There are 4 identities that do change. Can somebody tell me one identity that doesn't change? Identity. Identity. What's one identity that doesn't change?
Race.
Race. Race. Yeah, your race, right? Good. What is race? Asian, white, black. Okay, good. Okay, your cultural background. Your cultural background doesn't change. You can't change the fact that you were born in Korea, you live in Korea. I can't change the fact that I'm an American, right? Your ethnicity or your race, which he said, ethnicity, race. Gender, what is gender? Yeah, male, female, somewhere in between, good. Personal identity, what's your personal identity?
Outgoing person or outgoing person?
Oh, maybe whether you're outgoing or you're reserved, it's who you think you are, right? Like, yeah, the way you personally perceive yourself. But I think you can change that. Good. And there are 4 that change. Your role. What is your role? What is this identity? Your role. Your role can change, right? These identities can change. You can't change the fact that you're a Korean woman, right? But you can change your role. Toto, you're a teacher, right? So when you're teaching, your role is a teacher. But right now you're in a student position. You change your role easily, right? Me too. I take Korean classes. I become a student, right? Here I'm teaching. Good. You change your roles. You're the boss sometimes, and then you're the worker sometimes, all right? All right? Good. Your relationship with the listener, right? That changes. Like maybe we're really close friends, so we talk a certain way. Maybe we don't know each other very well, so we talk a different way. Your facework identity. You put up a good example for that. What is facework identity? Facework identity. Facework, think of your face like this mask that you create, right? You have this mask that you want to present to people. This is changing. There's an expression called save face. It means if someone gets embarrassed, they try to explain what happened to save face, so they're not embarrassed, right? So we're all trying to maintain face. And maybe, what was your example? Do you mind telling us? Do you remember? You don't remember? She's lying. If you look at the Q&A section, she has a good example of saving face or coming back, all right? So people try to save face all the time, right? People don't like to admit that they don't know certain things because they lose face. They feel embarrassed. When you ask somebody a question they don't know the answer to, they feel like they lose face. So they can try to save face by explaining the question, an answer that they do know, right? We all try to save face. We want people to view us a certain way, And when we trip or do something silly, it makes us lose face, right? And the reason why they talk about these different identities is in some meetings and in some interaction globally, different things will make people lose face, right? In some cultures, it's okay to like sneeze in public, right? Some cultures you can eat with your mouth open. Some you have to eat with your mouth closed. So there are different things. You change the face that you're trying to maintain depending on where you're at. Think of like slurping noodles in Japan, right, versus in the West. Good. And your symbolic interaction identity. What does that mean? This is an identity that changes. I'll tell you. All right, it's the way, the language and the gestures and the symbols you use when you're talking with different people. We're talking about the Busan dialect, right? And the Seoul dialect. Say someone works for a Samsung here in Seoul. When they're at work, they're going to use the Seoul dialect, probably, right? But when they go down to Busan, they can hang out with their friends, be like, hey, what's up? And then use the Busan dialect, right? So it's those symbols. Even body language changes, right? When you're with different people. So that identity can change, all right, from your language. Good. So, do you guys see this? Stop looking at your watch. Not necessary for the test, but important to know. Please ignore that. Actually, I think this is very interesting, so it might be on the test. And you won't need to know the definition, but you might need to know what for change and what for do not change. There's an identity that you can't change and that you can change when you're interacting with people. All right? So if I were you, I'd look and make sure that you can know those four. All right? Good. Okay, cognitive constraints are the frames of references that provide a backdrop or a background to which all information is compared. All right? Our frame of reference is affected by our culture. The way we understand the world and think about the world is affected by our culture, right? A long time ago, most societies and cultures thought the world was flat, all right? So your culture tells you that. That comes from the background information that you have. So there are lots of things that we believe and understand based on our culture. So when you're interacting with different cultures, it's a good idea to figure out what their background is, all right? All things can contribute to how we view the world, how we evaluate things. So your culture, pretty much this whole thing here is your culture affects how you see the world. I used to think it didn't, and I'm sure many of you may have experienced this. Like the more I leave the USA, the more I realize like, oh, I'm American. Because when I'm in the US, I'm like, I'm so different than all these other stupid Americans. Then I come here, I'm like, nope, you're a stupid American. All right? I think you probably feel the same way when you go to Korea and you see like, go traveling, you see another Korean tourist, you're like, wow, we do have a lot in common. I really am Korean. Have you experienced that? Yeah, like, especially when you meet other like Koreans, probably at a Korean restaurant in another country. Yeah. We're very similar to the people you were born and raised around because you have similar perceptions. That's pretty much what this whole section is talking about. All right, and it's good to know the culture and the background of the people you're interacting with. All right, good. Yeah. So specifically, is people have behavior restraints. I noticed when I first came to Korea and I was in a meeting and the person in charge was talking and nobody looked that person in the eye, I was like, oh my God, these people hate him. They hate him because everyone's just like taking notes and he's just speaking. But it's not that, it's a different culture, right? Whereas in the US, if someone of authority or who's in charge is speaking and you don't look them in the eye, it's extremely rude. So those are behavior constraints depending on culture, right? Whereas in some cultures, if you look someone in the eye, it means that you're being defiant, right? Or you think you're equal with them. And you are equal with them. No. All right, good. There are emotional constraints. So there's behavior, which is like looking people in the eyes, and emotional constraints, like getting really excited, or getting angry, or showing anger, or happiness. In some cultures, if you want to be professional, you should be neutral, more neutral, right? And in some cultures, if you don't get excited, it seems that you're not interested, or you're not engaged, or you don't care about the project. Good. So you have behavioral constraints and emotional constraints. I really hate lectures where I talk the whole time. I'm sorry. All right? Good. At least no one is sleeping. All right. We talked about this. Become informed. This is how you overcome difficulties. This class, it really focused on like, inform yourself of who you're talking to, where they come from, all right, and maybe why they might have certain perceptions. Good. Promote appreciation. What's appreciation? Gratitude is similar, yeah. A liking, something, promote that it's a good thing. Oh, these differences are okay, and they're fun. Same thing with language, different varieties of English, different varieties of Korean, or whatever language it is. Enjoy the differences, find them interesting, and don't judge based on them. Maybe, not all things that are up to culture makes them good. There are some bad cultural things. Maybe like the inequality of women in other cultures. It's cultural, but I don't think it's okay. But that's my personal belief. Moving on. Okay. Be flexible and accommodating. You have to be flexible and accommodating when you're dealing with other people, right? Easy, obvious, might be on the test. Good. Week 12, things to remember. Technology associated with global communication. Things you need to remember, the technology associated. We have 5 minutes. I'm looking at my watch, I know. All right, internal versus external. All right, the most important thing in week 12 is internal versus external. What's the difference? Who can tell me? Internal, external communication.
So like internal is like your inner circle, so like the environment that you're in, and external is like outside of like your comfort zone.
Yeah, okay, it could be that as well. So specifically, this is good. That's like maybe you as a person, but when you're talking about professionally, internal is the communication within a business. Me sending you a reply on the Jokchi or whatever, or the Q&A board, that's internal communication. But me talking to another professor in the USA, that's external. It's outside of this institution. The school is my institution, right? So if it's outside of your school, me talking to another professor, or a researcher in New York talking to a researcher in Delhi, it's external. And then internal is within a business, within an institution, within a school, all right? It's an important idea. Somebody asked me about it on the Q&A, and I answered it, but I don't know if everyone looked at it. It's really important for the midterm final. Is this a midterm or final? Final exam, all right? It's important for the final exam. Internal versus external. External is outside, internal is inside. And whether it's personal or business or an institution. Good. So you communicate with people around the globe. Internal and external communication can involve reading, writing, speaking, and listening. Any way you communicate is internal or external. It's just as if it's outside your organization or inside. Good. So I'm going to skip through a bunch of stuff. I'm just telling you what's most important because we don't have time. And I'm getting judged from the corner over there. All right. Originally, global communication wasn't important, but these days it's very important. That's why they cover it in this class. Because a lot of times you're going to be giving presentation across cultures and globally, externally communicating. Good. What else? Lingua franca, it comes up. Usually English is a lingua franca in external communication, right? It's usually going to be lingua franca. Technology plays a big role, all right? Because of technology, we're communicating more and more globally, a lot more external communication. Skip, good. We already talked about this. All right, make sure you're respectful when you're communicating externally, globally. It's the same stuff over and over. Do your research and about the best ways to communicate with certain people. Yeah. You have to stay up to date. If you want to do more external communication, you have to know the technology that you're able to use, right? Good. Boom. Some technology, email, phone, video conferencing tools. I'm sure you guys know that, right? They might ask you what is some technology that you would use to communicate externally, all right? They might ask you the difference between internal and external communication. Good. And depending on which way you're communicating, if it's like a business situation where you're communicating externally or a school situation where you're communicating externally, you might use different technology, right? Good. Talks about social media and how powerful that is for external communication these days. A lot of people communicate externally, outside of their own country, outside of their own institution and their business through social media these days. I mean, we're all talking all the time. All right. Good. These two definitions right here, make it as clear as possible. So if you want to come back, internal and external communication, review those two definitions. Good. Boom, boom, boom. This just gives you examples. If you don't understand something, here's a language. If you don't understand something when you're communicating externally, you can use these two examples. I'm sorry, I don't understand. Can you explain that again? I'm not sure what you mean. Could you please clarify? And pretty much what it talks about here in the lecture is that it's important to be honest when you don't understand something, especially when you're using technology to communicate. Because if not, you're going to be like a week or 2 weeks later and actually have really a much larger problem because you keep building up on the previous communication. And if whatever you're building on is based on you pretending that you understand, there'll be lots of misunderstanding, is what they say in the lecture. I agree. Yeah, good. Technology isn't always reliable. Have backups. That's what they say. Have a backup. So if the PPT didn't work today, we could have just used this handout. If Skype isn't working, you make a phone call, right? You send emails. That's pretty much it. Very simple. All right. Oh, there we go. We'll skip this. It talks about different types of settings. Institutions versus businesses. All right. Okay, week 13. I have no time. Okay, I'm gonna look at here. Week 13 talks about how you combine the skills mentioned in the previous lessons to prepare for your presentation. The type of research you need to do. And it tells you, it reviews like picking a technology, right? And where to start a presentation, the format, and develop speaker notes. What are speaker notes? You guys know? What? They can be cue cards, or I'm using PowerPoint. There's a little function here where I can write notes to myself. Well, I see them here, but you can't see them up here, right? So you might want to pick PowerPoint because you can write notes here that only you can see. Good. Self-assessment. Let's skip to that because it's the most important part. Boop, 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 boop. Oh, well, what are the 5 W's? Who, what, when, where, and why, right? Those are good. Self-assessment, use a checklist of things that you want to assess yourself for, all right? You make a list of things that you want to improve or want to make sure you're doing, all right? Record yourself through a video. Use a checklist to evaluate the recording, all right? Audibility. What is audibility? Your ability to be heard, all right? Make sure you're not speaking too soft. Make sure people can understand how you're pronouncing words. Pace is rate of speech, the rhythm. Check that. Many students talk too fast when they are nervous, right? So this checklist, self-assessment, is the only way you're going to improve your presentations, is following these checklists, all right? And the things that are mentioned on this checklist might be on the final exam. Fluency. Is the speech pattern fluent? Do you sound like, are you communicating clearly? Good. Is the delivery well rehearsed? All right? When you watch yourself in your recording, do you look confident? Can people understand what you're saying? Good. Hesitations or unnatural pauses, or check for that. Good. Tone and energy. Do you have energy? Are you speaking clear? Are you using a nice tone? Are you enthusiastic? Eye contact. Are you making eye contact? You have to practice it when you are doing a video as well. All right. Or are you looking at your notes too much? Good. Body language. Make sure your body language is open. You'll have to look at this by yourself. All right? Just make a checklist. Make sure you check it. Make sure to check the way you're presenting and whatever the quality of the information you're giving. All right? Yeah, this test doesn't ask a lot of definition questions. It asks a lot of comparison questions and what's first and second, types of speech you can use in certain situations. All right, so look over that. But like I said, if you go to the beginning of every week, there are like 4 or 5 or 6 bullet points. If you understand all those bullet points, you'll be okay. All right. I went over time 3 minutes. You can hate me for that and send me nasty notes. I apologize. But it was the people who came in late's fault. I had to hold the class to start late. No, if you have any questions, you can ask me now. Or if you need to leave, please leave. Does anyone have any questions or concerns or anything? You guys feel okay? I hope this helped. I'm sorry I went so fast. If you have any questions that you think of later, send me a message. Please put it on the Q&A board so other people can see it because they might have the same question, okay? If you're too embarrassed to ask a question now in front of the class, when we're finishing up here, you can come and ask me a question. All right? Thanks, guys. Good luck on your final exams.